Welcome, dudes and dudettes, to another episode of Alan Teaches English. Today on Alan Teaches English, I'm going to talk about the protests happening in America right now. I'm going to explain police brutality, some of the history behind why this certain killing has sparked so many protests, not only in this country, but all around the world. Now, there is so much information that I will come out with a part 2 on some of the results from these protests. And I'm also going to explain some of the vocabulary that comes with this event. So when you're reading about it in the news, you will see some of these vocabulary terms and you will know what they mean. Before we get started, hit that subscribe button, give me a big like, and leave a comment below. Tell me how pretty I am. Oh yeah. So, let's get started. Hashtag BLM. So let's jump right in with our vocabulary, and then later on I will explain the events. Our first word is protest, a statement or action expressing disapproval of or objection to something. Number 2, riot, a violent disturbance of peace by a crowd. Black Lives Matter, a global organization whose mission is to intervene in violence inflicted on Black communities all around the world. Black Lives Matter was formed in response to the death of Trayvon Martin, whose killer, George Zimmerman, was not found guilty of murder in 2013. Our fourth word is strangle, to squeeze or constrict the neck of a person or animal, often resulting in death or loss of consciousness. And finally, our fifth term is police brutality, savage physical violence by a police officer. Why are record number of people protesting in the United States right now? These protests started soon after the murder of George Perry Floyd Jr. on May 25th in Minneapolis, Minnesota. During an arrest, Mr. Floyd was strangled as the officer pinned his neck against the ground for more than 8 minutes. George Floyd was in handcuffs as he lay victim to this act of police brutality. Things like this happen way too often in America. For years and years and years, innocent Black lives have been lost by the over-aggression of police. Innocent men and women have been shot and strangled and beaten for reasons that we do not know. It's part racism, it is part the police system that we have in America, and it's part ignorance and fear. I don't know. That is what we are trying to figure out. But the most important thing we need to think about is how America has brought down the Black community basically in the entire history of America. So now I'm going to express the discrimination of police killings through some numbers. So please bear with me. I'm going to throw a lot of numbers out there. Since 2015, 4,728 people in the United States were killed by a police officer. Black people account for 1,252 of these deaths, and white people account for 2,385 of those deaths. Alan, more white people were killed than Black people, so why are we all so angry? That's a very good question. 76.5% of people in the US are white, and only 13.4% of the population are Black. To put these numbers in perspective, 26% of people killed at the hands of police brutality were Black and 50% white. The white population accounts for 76.5% of the entire US population, but only account for 50% of police killings. The Black community has suffered 26% of the killings produced by police officers, yet are only 13.4% of the population. That's a huge difference. So, on average, a black man or woman, child, elderly person, they are more likely to be killed by a policeman or woman than a white man. And when I say man, I'm including men and women, of course. Record numbers of protests have taken over the states and continue to grow larger. These protests are a good thing. The media may tell you that this is bad because they see other people who are rioting. Now, these people who are rioting are different from the people who are protesting. The people who are protesting simply want the police system to change, to work for the people and not against the people. The police force are here to protect us. In the United States, you are more likely to be killed by a police officer than you are by any other person. That's backwards. It doesn't make sense. Why? Why? It makes me sad. It makes me sad. America is the land of the free, not the land of the free to die. After 3 weeks of protests, there have been many changes to our legal system already, and there is more to take place later. I am very inspired by those who are protesting. I will admit, I have not gone to a protest for my own personal reasons. Millions of people have taken part to drive change. And not only in the United States, there have been protests in, now this may take a while, but every country who has protested deserves credit. So I'm going to list out every single country where protests have taken place because of the killing of George Floyd Jr. Protests have taken place in Ghana, Kenya, Liberia, Nigeria, Senegal, South Africa, Tunisia, Uganda, Kazakhstan, China, Japan, South Korea, Taiwan, India, Pakistan, Sri Lanka, Philippines, Thailand, Armenia, Georgia, Iran, Israel, Jerusalem, Tel Aviv, Lebanon, Palestine, Turkey, Austria, Andorra, Belgium, Bulgaria, Croatia, Czech Republic, Denmark, Finland, France, Germany, Greece, Hungary, Iceland, Ireland, Italy, Kosovo, Lithuania, Luxembourg, Malta, Montenegro, Netherlands, Norway, Poland, Portugal, Romania, Russia, Serbia, Slovakia, Spain, Sweden, Switzerland, Turkey, United Kingdom, Canada, Mexico, the Caribbean, Jamaica, Trinidad, Australia, New Zealand, Argentina, Brazil, Colombia, and Ecuador. Everyone here in the United States thanks you. Thanks you for supporting what we are trying to do here in the United States. We don't want to get rid of the police. We just want to get rid of police brutality. We want our communities to become empowered. When I say community, I mean all communities. Every community that we have in the United States, we want to improve, and we want the police to work for them, not against them. I know I couldn't touch upon the entire history of what led to these protests. If you want to know more about the challenges the Black community faces in America, watch 13th on Netflix. This documentary perfectly illustrates how racism turned into systematic racism. Thank you for joining me this week. I will be back again next week to elaborate on some of the changes that these protests have inspired. Hit the subscribe button, clickety-clack, like, yeah. I will see you next week, dudes and dudettes. Peace!